The following video definitely is not brought to you by Pfizer. Well, finally, I got off my ass and I made a video. So, first of all, I want to thank those of you who contributed, particularly Dave and MSP and a few others. I can't keep up, but you guys have definitely motivated me to work on this. However, in order to talk about things intelligently, I had to do a little homework. You know, because lately, it seems like some of the people that have gotten the jab have wanted to quote fucking epidemiology to me. And clearly, you haven't kept up with my past fucking videos where I went over the downfall of academia, our general lack of trust, and the healthy amount of skepticism that we should view any science with. All right. And for fact checkers, this is my opinion based on what I have seen, what I've read, what I've watched, what I looked at, and evidence I have stumbled upon for years. And if you go way back, we're talking 4 years ago, I was all about the science. I was fucking putting scientific studies and shit on my shit. I had fucking slides and shit, and it was great. Until I started to see the cracks in the foundation of what should be an unbiased discipline, in what should be something done for the betterment of humanity and not the betterment of somebody's fucking wallet. And the conflicts of interest piled up to such a degree that I couldn't trust any of it anymore. Now, I'm not saying there aren't any scientists out there with integrity, because there might be. But they ain't getting fucking paid, are they? Now, why? Because the studies we really need don't get done. And I dug into this a little bit over the weekend, you know, just to see if maybe I lost my mind. You know, it's been a while since I've really took a real good solid look at how we're doing in terms of academia, in terms of science, and in terms of corruption that has literally been going on for years. Now, in the description down below, because I don't know how much of a clip I can play nowadays, you know, YouTube's all fucked up. I got a little clip pulled from the documentary. And honestly, I think maybe before you watch the rest of this video, you should watch the entire documentary, because I have some spoilers and some criticisms that I'm going to discuss in terms of the documentary itself, because there is a little bit of hypocrisy involved, because it is a German news organization, and we do know that the GDP for Germany is largely relying on the pharmaceutical industry. But that being said, the lefties tend to, you know, contradict themselves from time to time, so they're more than willing to point out any environmental fuck-ups of a company. But when it comes to the jab, oh, you gotta get the jab. You should listen to us, because we're telling you, yeah. Meanwhile, around me, personally, I have seen plenty of evidence that the jab didn't do shit. Because not only do I know of more than one person in my circles that has died of the coof since being jabbed, just overall in general, the infection rate is pretty much the same as it was last year when I lost people to the lockdowns. And make no mistake, I do place Nadine's death and a few others who have passed on. I am left with this nagging feeling they'd still be here had we not locked down and done all the stupid shit that we did. Because they lost the glue that was holding them together. Now, granted, they had problems, but they did lose the glue that was holding everything together. So, there's that. Anyways, leaving that aside, and that should also put to bed the occasional commenter who lost somebody to the coof who somehow thinks I'm a piece of shit because of the information that I have been exposed to and the opinions that I have, which have absolutely zero effect on whether or not you lost someone to the coof. I have never said the coof really wasn't a thing. I've got some people in my comments that tell me it's fake, it's all bullshit. I believe the coof is real. Why? Because I'm pretty sure I've had it twice now. I also believe that it's not as bad as we're making it out to be. And I think it's being used to stroke fear in the population for the purposes of profit. And there is so much overwhelming evidence that you got to be fucking blind at this point. True, anecdotal though it may be, but show me the person that's going to lead the research and pay for the research to prove these things. Companies aren't lining up to do that, and our philanthropists, you know, those billionaires that are currently blasting themselves off into space, well, maybe we ought to fix the fucking Earth first before you go out to Mars, dickheads, and call yourself a fucking philanthropist. You know, Bill Gates being the biggest fucking offender of all of them. Yeah, he goes around and calls himself a philanthropist. So, you know, it takes pictures in African villages and shit. Meanwhile, his company, although he is just a controlling board member he's not actually in the company anymore. You know, turns out there's some slave labor going on. You know, some of the chips that are used in Nokia phones, I do believe, are mined by slave labor essentially, and costing miners their life and all kinds of. This is one of the many documentaries I watched over the weekend. Like I watched stuff on poverty. I watched stuff on basically companies cutting corners, sacrificing the environment, health, and various other aspects, all in the name of profit, and then launching these campaigns of misinformation under the guise of science and academia that they buy and pay for. And that's why I highly recommend watching this. Now, I don't agree with everything in this documentary because it had a hypocritical moment where it's going on and on about, first it started off with the bees. Let's just look at the first clip here, because that's pretty good. Let me put fucking headset on. So let's just acknowledge something here. Okay, so this is, you know, I didn't play the whole thing. Apparently there's some bees. Let me put my little faith cam thing on here. Apparently bees have been disappearing. We've been hearing about it for years. And nobody knows why. Oh my God, nobody knows why. Well, some scientists did figure out why. You know, turns out a pesticide, and we can probably thank Bayer Monsanto for this one. It's a pharmaceutical company that owns the agriculture company. I'm sure that's no conflict of interest, that the people that feed you and are responsible for your short-term health are also the ones that are going to be there at the end of the day to give you the medication to fix all the shit they break over I'm sure that has no scientific bearing whatsoever. It's not a perfect business model in any way. You know, well, apparently in agriculture, they're spraying a chemical that bees are sensitive to. And, of course, this is causing bees and beekeepers to come out and find all their bees dead. Why'd they die? Well, when you got the fucking crop duster next door, it doesn't take a big fucking mathematician to figure that out. However, that's not simple, is it? So let's hear a little bit of the skullduggery involved and watch this whole documentary, because it goes over some things that you should really be thinking about in the context of what we're going through. I'm going to show you a few other things to really put it in perspective for you before you quote how many people have the jab, Dave and MSP. And I know you said you don't give a shit if I take the jab or not, but you want to start getting nitpicky about some fucking numbers. Let's look at the numbers that really count, and that's the dollar signs. You know, you want me to do the fucking math? Well, let's do some fucking Common Core math right now.
You need to be a very shrewd observer to see the whole picture.
The moment the bee problem appeared, there was 4 to 5 times more research into causes not linked to pesticides.
Oh, that's not shady at all. Science must be fucking great, right? So rather than, you see, epidemiology, by the way, which many people throw at me as proof of their fucking point, epidemiology is a science that is designed to form hypothesis. It is not, you know, accepted as gospel. It is not done at that point. It is not proof of jack shit. And it is the number one thing that the media parades in front of you. This makes it 10 times more likely. You know, I do believe they have said that the jab is 10 times more effective or some shit. 10 times what? You know, because you could divide a percentage up quite a bit and multiply that by 10 and say that it fucking increased 10 fucking times if we're doing math. Sorry, I hate to pick on you, Dave, but you started it. Anyways, you know, when you're looking at these math numbers and you do the fucking math, it's not adding up properly because they're using these tactics to manipulate that math. You know, one of the things he quoted to me was 400 million doses of the jab have gone out. 400 million. There's, what, 350 million people in the United States? That math doesn't add up to me. I don't know. I mean, look it up. I'm sure somebody will link the exact population of the United States. It's gone up a few million, you know, because we're definitely allowing people to cross the border, over 1 million at this point. They didn't need their jab passport to come over, so, you know, there's that. Apparently we don't give a shit about that. Yeah, they get a free pass. But the rest of us, not so much. And, you know, I'm willing to bet that when all of the illegal aliens pouring across the border go to get jobs, that they also will not have to prove their status at that point. You know, I just call me crazy, but, you know, when you import a slave labor force, you tend to just, you know, as long as they're working for very little pay, you're good to go. You know, and, you know, I'm getting sidetracked a little, I realize that, but you really gotta dig into the fact that this is not a new phenomenon, the manipulation of science and academia by corporations for profit. It's been done with Big Sugar. It's been done with the every pharmaceutical industry has had proof, lawsuits in court that they've either, so they didn't look bad, they settled, or they fucking got outright fined for this exact misbehavior. Yet somehow, in 2020, they all got fucking halos and angel wings and shit. And now suddenly we trust all of them. You know, they can't do any fucking wrong anymore. It's all... they are only looking out for you. While they charge $1,000 for fucking insulin that costs like $3 to make. There's some fucking math for you. And we want to trust them? Not only do we want to trust them, we want our government to mandate that trust. You will fucking trust them and you will get the jab, and if you don't, well, fuck you. You don't get to work no more. You can fucking big starve, motherfucker. That's where we're at. And you don't see a problem with that. See, another thing that I'm finding is people that have gotten the jab, of their own free will, mind you, are mighty fucking defensive about it. When they should be just as outraged as the people who didn't. And to be fair, there are some that fit in this category. They should be just as outraged about the mandates as everybody else. But because they got the jab, they want to defend it. You know, when you have no proof, zero proof, and no, I'm sorry, your epidemiology math is not proof for jack shit. We're not going to know for 7 years the long-term effects of this. They can't even tell you. They cannot even tell you how effective it really is. because that would require an experiment in which you infected a bunch of people with the coof intentionally, and then had a control group there, and then you had another group that's, the placebo group, and you did all these controls, which would be completely unethical. Not that I think they're ethical, but that's one of the things that's still against the rules as far as I know. We don't have that. You want to know how we're going to get that? In the next couple years. We are running the biggest clinical trial of all time, and we're making participation in it fucking mandatory for a lot of people. Not everyone. There's some key groups, like the million motherfuckers crossing the border right now. They don't have to be in on this. And trust me, they got the coof like no tomorrow. But they got that whole national, immunity thing going. So there's that. The hypocrisy is just mind-blowing to this. Now, once again, I don't care if you got the fucking jab. I am explaining my reasoning for not wanting to get the jab. And when you add the coercion, the mandatory, the trampling of the Constitution that's going on top of this in the name of the public good when there's absolutely no fucking proof. None. I'm sorry. You can put your little epidemiology fucking shit in my comments. There's no fucking proof. All right? And you want to know how I know that? Because there's still people dying. And they're still dying from the coof, even though they got the jab. And there's plenty of proof of that. You can find it if you look. And not only that, but I know that in my circle that there is somebody that has gone because of the coof, despite the jab. They have gone from it's the savior of humanity to where you still got to wear a mask. You still got to do all of this shit. Not everywhere, but the hypocrisy is there. And if we're all jabbed up, then what's the thing? And they've also said that an unjabbed individual is a public health threat. When you're jabbed, you can still catch the virus. You can still transmit the virus. The only thing that they attribute to the jab is that it's 10 times more effective at keeping you out of the fucking hospital. Well, and they demonize some other fucking treatments that Pfizer makes a hell of a lot less money on, and, all these other companies don't want to promote, that is probably just as effective, if not more so, than the jab. That's my opinion. Do your own fucking homework on that. But what I am 100% certain of is a fact is nearly every pharmaceutical company involved has used these same tactics as the tobacco industry, as Monsanto, as all of these companies that have used academia to muddy the water just enough to not get their shit banned, to not have to pay lawsuits out. And people have died. I can't even fathom the numbers at this point that have died of cancer, various autoimmune illnesses, tons of side effect related illnesses have taken us out. And then if you look at the opioid crisis, 900,000 in the last year. And there's some people are like up in arms about it, but you know who's going to pay? Nobody. All the people that profited from that are going to land on their fucking with their golden parachute just fine. Yet that ain't going to bring back the 900,000 people that have perished due to the opioid crisis, will it? And these are the same people you want me to trust to get over something that has a 99.7 in my age bracket anyway. It goes down to 99.23, something like that if you're over 80. I have a 99.7% chance of surviving, and I do believe I've survived it twice at this point. And you want me to do something that's, according to your own fucking data, is 90% effective. Well, that's great. So that's like less than just getting it for me. You know, you want me to take something that's 90% effective with probably a 10% chance of acute reactions and who knows what percentage of long-term health consequences, which we won't know for a while. So thank you for those of you who rolled the dice, but I don't want to be one of you. I'm sorry. I roll enough dice. I do enough dumb shit to my body, but the difference is I chose to do that shit. I'm not being mandated to do something that could fuck me up. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not going to fuck anyone up. Maybe you, and I hear it all the time. I took the jab and I'm just fine. Everything's great. I feel like $1 million. Yay! When's my next booster? Let's go. Come on. You can do it. It didn't fuck me up, so it's probably not going to fuck you up either, right? That works. Meanwhile, the two of us might have fucking completely different genetics, completely different fucking autoimmune problems and illnesses and shit. Whereas you might take it and be fine, but the person next to you will have a fucking cytokine storm and fucking some kind of autoimmune flare-up where it attacks every fucking vital organ in their body and they fucking drop dead. But apparently we don't care about them because it worked for you. That's why you can't do this. You can't have the government stepping in on the doctor-patient relationship because everybody has a large amount of fucking variables involved. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to medicine. And I think we've let it get out of hand with the amount that we've allowed the pharmaceutical industry to fucking take over our lives. And make no mistake, that's exactly what's happening. All in the name of profit. These companies could give two shits about whether you live or die as long as they make money while you're alive. And yes, they have done some things. They have stopped some illnesses here and there. Tends to be the more acute ones because it's a lot more profitable to keep you alive than to let you die in those situations. But when it comes to the chronic long-term illnesses where quality of life is the issue and not necessarily something that's going to take you out right away, that's where we tend to fucking let you just suffer for a while as we slowly suck all the fucking money out of your bank account and get rid of all your retirement and take away all your fucking property on the way out the door. That's the formula. That's the business model. So we'll get you all fucking sick and fucked up from these chronic illnesses throughout your whole life, Monsanto, and then we'll come along at the end, Bayer, and, we'll make sure that you pay us for the privilege of still walking around this earth while you're in chronic pain and misery, essentially. Did I miss something there? Do the fucking math. Follow the money. That's really what it boils down to. Follow the money. All right, that was a long little fucking triggered tirade. So let's continue.
Natural pathogens like Varroa, Nosema, and different viruses, but also bad beekeeping practices, climate change, the loss of habitat, night lighting, the Asian hornet, and other invasive species like the small hive beetle. Basically, research was much more intensive in causes unlinked to...
So basically, the way they try to muddy the water is to find other things that could cause the same thing and focus on those rather than their product, which is probably the most likely culprit. But we will never fucking know, and we still don't know. They still haven't settled this. They don't have the settled science because it would cause a loss of profit.
Pesticides than into pesticides themselves.
As is shown with a quick search in a scientific study database. As soon as pesticides were suspected, there was a dramatic rise in the number of public and private studies focusing on alternative explanations. 2010, the veterinary authorities were confused.
And these are the people that are behind the public policy. And I think it's even gotten corrupt to the point where they'll just directly pay the politicians to say what they want to say. But that's my tinfoil hat shit at work there. But these are the people that go to President Biden, and go to Nancy Pelosi and bitch McConnell and tell them, hey, we have this study. Says you're 10% better to fucking do this. Might want to make it a law. You know, how much did you need for your next fucking campaign? Yeah, we might need that law passed. You know, do the fucking math on that. Sorry, I'm still picking on. If there's one person that has subscribed to me all these years, been one of the most supportive fucking, you know, I've lost track of how much he's supported the channel over the years, but he pokes me right in the fucking ribs every time with his little fucking comments that come in. Because I do believe we are on the opposite of political spectrum in some areas, but not everything. And we've discussed it periodically, but I'm still going to poke him the way he pokes me. So there's that. You know, and I'm not going to play any more of it because I already think I'm fucking treading on thin water. But the link is down below. I recommend watching it. And watch it and keep in mind our current situation and who we're putting faith in. You know, these companies don't care. They don't. They're not here to fucking make sure you're having a healthy, happy, productive life. And it's so bad, the hypocrisy of it, that I don't know how anybody with any bit of integrity can look at it and not see the shit show for what it is. You've got people working in the healthcare industry, the people that should be the biggest proponents of the jab, that are saying they are refusing. They're letting them kick them right out of their jobs. And then you've got all the first responders who were out there without the jab this whole time. Can't imagine, well, if you've been out there and you're not dead yet, you know, and you've survived all of this shit, including all of the stupid riot horse shit we did and all of that other crap. And, some of them were demonized the whole time and are, just... This is a continuation of that. But then you got firefighters and ambulance workers and people that were out there this whole time exposed to the coof. And they've probably already got it. So they probably already have natural immunity. Which science shows, I have to chuckle, is more effective than the jab. But hey, can you trust that science? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't trust any of it. I trust what these two fucking, lamps see. I trust what I see around me and what I see with my own eyes and what I've experienced myself and nothing more at this point. Because once you cross that line with me, and almost every one of these companies, media companies, and government agencies has done so. They have shown their corrupt colors over and over again to me throughout this health journey and beyond, to where I will not trust them ever. And it would take a fucking miracle at this point to get that trust back from me. And I'm not alone in this. Clearly, I'm not alone in this. Otherwise, everybody would just get the jab and shut the fuck up, wouldn't they? Now, whether or not it's a majority or not, or, 30%, or, I don't trust those numbers either. So you can do the math all day. But I don't trust the people that put the data in the fucking calculator, all right? And I definitely, by the time it reaches CNN or MSNBC or... the China broadcasting system or whatever the fuck we got now. I don't trust any of it at that point. By the time they spew out that epidemiology fucking headline of this is 10 times more effective or this is 90% better than this and blah, 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 which I immediately translate into this is bullshit. Because not once have they come out and been 100% honest with us, have they? And I started to demonstrate this way back with keto. I started to show it when I just started digging into our agriculture, and the root cause of a lot of our chronic illness is the things that we consume in our food and things our food's packaged in. All of these things are contributing factors in our chronic illness, which has reached overwhelming proportion, so much so that it's almost half of our fucking economy at this point. What, 40% is medical of our economy? 40% of our economy? I don't know. Quote me on that. Do the fucking math. You know, and that's kind of all weighed in my perception of how this is going. Now, in the beginning of this, none of us had any fucking clue what was going on. At least none of us. Dr. Fauci clearly did. But the rest of us were like, oh shit, we should do this? Should we do that? I even at one point, and I'm reminded of this by Steve every once in a while, that I was like, wow, that Cuomo, he's doing a pretty good fucking job there. I mean, he seems to be making decisions. He's got showing leadership. Not even Trump was doing. Well, I've learned to regret that, didn't I? And I was completely 100% wrong. And I wish other people would have at least the integrity to do that, you know, because I don't know anybody that should be happy about the way things have turned out since we got Sleepy Joe in the White House. Which I got to be careful now, because I heard they're starting to ban motherfuckers for criticizing the president. Oh my God, that's not authoritarian at all. You know, that reminds me of another fucking documentary I watched. Let's which will also be linked below. This is more just for fun. You know, the secret state of North Korea. Hey! And I watched this through the lens of what kind of parallels can we draw with what's currently going on in terms of censorship, in terms of the mentality of people currently. You know, like 1 in 3 people in North Korea, here's some math for you. 1 in 3 people in North Korea will turn you in if you say anything bad against the fucking governor. And how does that sounds familiar somewhere? I think you could go on Twitter and spot some of that. I don't know. You know, there was even during the coup, there were fucking websites that state governments were putting up where you could rat on your fucking neighbor. Oh, has your fucking neighbor got more than 10 people coming over? Well, come over to this website, tell us their name, address, and phone number, and we'll come and make sure we fuck them up for you. Because, you know, that's how you fucking do. And if you look at the current trend of using private corporations to enforce an executive order, essentially, because this ain't a fucking law, they wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Not if they wanted to fucking keep their seat. But they'll damn sure make Walmart and Jeff Bezos and all these other motherfuckers do it, right? And some of them are gleefully doing it. 100% doubled down. They'll fucking throw your ass out and you ain't ever coming back. They don't give a shit. They don't care if their whole fucking business dies. That's how brainwashed some fucking places are with this shit. You know? And that's the power of propaganda. And we've had nonstop propaganda this whole time, and we're going to have more. It's not going anywhere. It's just whether or not you choose to believe it at this point. And I'm here to say that the track record is ridiculously bad. Would you trust somebody that repeatedly lied to you? Would you put your life in their hands and your livelihood? Would you give them control over every aspect of your life? Because it's what you're fucking doing. And let me show you who you're giving it to. This is from the Department of Justice. You know, this is from 2009. Did you know? And this is your favorite fucking motherfuckers, Pfizer. You know, the ones that you're trusting that have sponsored all of the news programs you watch every day. American pharmaceutical giant Pfizer Inc. and its subsidiary Pharmac fucking Upjohn something or other have agreed to pay $2.3 billion, the largest healthcare fraud settlement in the history of healthcare fraud in the history of the Department of Justice, to resolve criminal and civil liability arising from the illegal promotion of certain pharmaceutical products. And basically, I believe it was off-brand labeling that they were accused of, and they were promoting use of their shit for. They're like, this is great, you can use it for everything, even though it might cause fucking death. You know? And rather than admit they were wrong, they paid billions. Which to me is the same as guilty. All right? When a company is willing to spend billions to not have their day in court, for you to go away, they're essentially buying you off. And if you look at the fact checkers, because that popped up underneath my little search, the only thing they could say is that they admitted no wrongdoing, which is true. They didn't. But damn it, doesn't it fucking look guilty when you pay $2.3 billion? I'm pretty sure that means you fucking did exactly what they're accusing you of. And that has happened with every single pharmaceutical company that is currently making jabs. They all have these cases on their record, you know. Here's another one from Pfizer. This is from 2016. Pfizer, $486 million settlement of Celebrex Bextra litigation. Pfizer on Tuesday said it reached a $486 million settlement of litigation accusing it of causing big losses for shareholders by concealing safety risks associated with Celebrex. So tell me, you vax apologists, tell me, what makes you think they're not doing that shit now? And do that after watching the latest Project Veritas whistleblowers that have come out of Pfizer. You know, everybody's making fun of the woman that was running away from the reporter instead of talking and saying, giving a statement and trying to give us a sense of you're not fucking guilty when you literally looked at it. Looked like an episode of Cops. You know, there was definitely some guilt there. Definitely wasn't good optics, for sure. Didn't give me any warm fuzzies. You didn't change my mind on the jab, that's for sure. You know, how do you look at this and just dismiss all of this? That's my question. So for those of you who have been jab apologists, simply because you got the jab and you want to feel vindicated in your decision, and you somehow think I'm making fun of you, or I'm fucking with you, when I'm just trying to point out how fucked up this is, and in my opinion, you probably fucked up. But we'll find out. Maybe I'm wrong. But if that makes you defensive to the point where you're going to ignore these things, then you're only hurting yourself long term. You know, and they'll do it to you again and again. This is not the end. You didn't get your jab and get your life back. That's all. That ship sailed when you put the mask on. You know, you're not getting these things back. These freedoms are gone. And they're always going to be looking. What else can we do? Can we make money doing this? Can we force them to purchase this? Can we force them to get the booster? We just heard that the CDC wanted to redefine what being fully jabbed is. Now they haven't put it in place yet, but they may make it so that if you don't get the fucking booster, then you can't get into fucking these places that are saying you have to be jabbed to work, to go to a restaurant, to do all of the fucking stupid shit some of these places are doing. Thankfully, it's been confined to New York City here in New York. I can go to a restaurant right now. Nobody has asked me if I'm jabbed at all. And I'm also starting to wonder about trucking. You know, I've gotten a lot of messages and a lot of, oh, you can come work for us, we're hiring. I've gotten those. And I am still waiting to see what federally we do, because keep in mind, the Biden administration has full jurisdiction through the Department of Transportation, and he's already demonstrated with the Department of Labor and OSHA that he is willing to use those agencies to enforce and abuse his power, to extend his authority in places where it was never meant to be, and to enforce an unconstitutional edict. So that not the federal government, you know, the FBI isn't going to knock on your door and say, you've been jabbed. Where's your jab paperwork? Let me see it. Come on. Snap, snap. No, the fucking Walmart greeter is going to be like, I'm sorry, but I need to see your jab paperwork. Could you please, you know, just come on. I had a shitty day. But just show it to me. I know I suck dicks in hell, but, you know, could you just give me a break? I'm just here trying to do my fucking job. And you're putting it on them people, and they ain't getting paid enough to do that job. So, you know, it's a little give and take here. And at some point, when do we stop? I don't think we do. I think we crossed this bridge in 2020, and then it fell into the fucking river behind us. And we're now stuck here. And yes, there is a growing resistance. You know, I was very happy to see a large-scale protest in New York City against the mandates. I'm very happy to see companies like In-N-Out Burger, and I think it was Southwest Airlines, that said they will not fire their employees. You know, I wish they'd go one step further and says, if you're jabbed, then you can't work here.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That would be the exact fucking response, wouldn't it? You know, I've seen memes to that effect, you know, like employers that fired everybody that got jabbed from their place of employment. So then you have all unjabbed people working. You know, but we're getting ridiculous at this point with this shit.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And I do believe that it won't be evenly enforced either. I have this sneaking suspicion now, based on some of the things I've heard from people that are currently working in the industry, including my best friend, that companies aren't concerning themselves with this, particularly trucking companies, as we continue to keep that narrative going. And I'm starting to wonder if simply to avoid the contradictory narrative that they're doing everything in their power to address the supply chain issue and not fuel costs. No, fuck that. We got to go electric, and in order to do that, you're fucked. All right, sorry. We're gonna stop producing, you know, domestic energy, and you're just gonna have to suffer when it's cloudy out and raining, or you know, when the wind dies down or something. You're just gonna have to deal with your blackouts. I'm sorry, but that's how it's gonna go. You know, we're not getting that back. You know, fuel prices are rising precisely because of that. We're not producing domestically. Meanwhile, a couple years ago, I do recall that they couldn't get rid of the fucking oil. Like, it went into the negative value because they didn't have warehouses to store it all. You remember back when it was below $2 a gallon? You remember that? Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. I went on a road trip during one of those periods. I was just like, yes. Now I'm looking at almost $4 a gallon here in New York. It was like $3.60. One of the places I drove by. And I'm hearing it's worse in other places, like California. Wow, fuck that. Sorry. You all have California. I don't want it anymore. I don't want it. I mean, you got some pretty nice wilderness in the Northern California area, but as far as that, y'all can... As far as I'm concerned, the United States stops at the border of California. And that's a whole other country. They even got fucking checkpoints going in, you know. Where they make sure you're not bringing agriculture and all. Granted, it's that, but I'm sure they'll add some questions to that, like whether or not you're jabbed. You know, just mark my words. I mean, you did put Gavin Newsom back on the throne for another couple months, so we'll see how that goes. You know, it's gotten so ridiculous, and now there's people who are wondering why they don't have our trust anymore. And that's what I got out of this documentary, was these are scientists that are wondering why nobody fucking believes them anymore. It's because of this. You've allowed all of these industries to muddy the academic waters over the years for profit. And research, and it even said in this documentary that research that does not provide profit, that is not profitable, does not get done. Think of all the problems we could solve if that wasn't the criteria for whether or not you do research. What if research was just a standard funded thing? You know? And honestly, we probably would have to do a socialist style program to make that happen, because a company sure as fuck ain't gonna do it. You know? So maybe that should fall under the purview of government spending instead of what kind of gender study programs another country might have. Just saying. Maybe there's some more important things to spend the how many $1 trillion that they're trying to ram through the fucking bills now. You know, what are they spending that on? Roads and bridges. We're getting roads and bridges. We're not taking a good hard look at this jab that they ramrodded through the system. told us to have faith. And even this documentary, that's what really struck me. You know, this documentary goes on and on about all of these industries, you know, and they took a stab at Monsanto with the pesticide thing. They took a jab at the tobacco industry, which we have indisputable proof of this tactic being employed by them. There's also proof of Monsanto doing it. If you look at those cancer cases that somehow disappeared from the fucking news as soon as it's like Monsanto knew. I haven't heard jack shit about how those cases are going. You remember right before we got, you know, the coof that people were getting cancer at an alarming rate thanks to the whole Roundup thing? You remember that? It's a distant fucking worry now. I'm sure all of those people are better now and they're doing great. But we'll never hear about it. Because why? We've got bigger fish to fry. And that's whether or not you got your jab. No matter whether or not you're healthy or you're not healthy or you got symptoms or you don't, you're going to have this medical treatment whether you fucking like it or not. From a very, very, very trustworthy company. Or two. Nearly every company that is making jabs has blood on their hands. Documented with court cases. The difference is they are enjoying this blanket immunity. So no matter how bad this jab fucks you up over the next 7 to 10 years, and it might take that long. Hope you enjoy your time. I hope your quality of life doesn't dip during that. And I really do hope that you rolled the dice and you won if you got the jab. You know, but we won't know for a while. You can't just sit here and tell me, I feel fine, like 3 fucking weeks after you got the jab. I'm sorry. No. No. That's not how you judge fucking the criteria. Look how long it took people to figure out they were getting cancer from Roundup. Just saying. You know, it wasn't something that you found out overnight. It involved a whole fucking lot of hospital bills before you found it out. And the realization that they were going to fucking die before they went to court. And they were using these same tactics to muddy the academic waters. To cause a massive distrust in science. Which could only work to the corporate benefit. Because nowadays, if your study isn't towing the line, they can tear it apart. Be like, that wasn't a good study. And they did this and this and this. And who do you believe? Do you believe the people paying for the studies? Or do you believe the scientists that are saying that's fucked up? Who might be funded by another company with a competing product? They're just fucking mind blown there, right? And I don't know how else to explain that to people. I feel like everybody forgot that in 2020, which is amazing, considering how much evidence we've looked at on this channel alone, but that has been out there. I'm not the only person that brought these things to our attention. That, you know, just this long track record of fraud, of manipulation, outright retractions that had to happen because of the corruption directly in the universities. And somehow, magically, in 2020, we decided it was done. And we look right now. Look at Dr. Fauci, the ringleader of this shit. All the shit he's put us through. All the times he's walked back his statements about masks, about lockdowns, about the jab. And look at the shit that's come out about him and his level of corruption. And he still ain't fucking owned up. And there are still people who will take his word as gospel. I'm not one of those people, and I never fucking will be. And I know some people get snarky and put these fucking things in my comments, or these news stories, or these studies. It's particularly bad on Facebook. That's probably the worst place for it. But every once in a while, I get You know, somebody who's like, oh, well, what about this? And they send me a piece of shit epidemiology thing that was pretty much just a headline on one of the fucking mainstream media sites. And I'm just like, what about it? It looks like a big pile of fucking horse shit. You know? If you didn't see it with these two fucking things, you probably can't authoritatively say that something is fact or not. And the fact checkers have already been proven all fucked up with agendas and lack of trust. Nearly every news agency, in my opinion, has some reason to not trust them on their... Even NTD News has done a few things that have made me question them. And they're honestly the one I go to find out what's going on nowadays. But I still look at them with a healthy degree of skepticism because they make money. I think it's part of human nature to not shit where you eat. And nearly every other news organization, whether it's Fox or CNN, is littered with pharmaceutical commercials. Here on YouTube, I've been told there's pharmaceutical shit on my shit. Not that that changes what I have to fucking say, because they don't pay me that well. And even if they did, I wouldn't fucking have the, you know, I'd have enough integrity to be like, look, you can stop paying me because I'm still going to talk shit. But at the same time, I have no compunctions about taking that money from them if they choose to fucking give it to me. You know, it is what it is. If you want to pay me to talk shit about you, oh, no problem. But there's been times in the past, particularly when I came down on Monsanto in the past, I was demonetized. Specifically for that reason. Now I've learned to manipulate my language a little bit. I've learned to emphasize the fact that everything I say is opinion. This is an opinion piece, not a fact piece. I'm not here to tell you I'm a fucking expert. In fact, I say that in every video. I'm not a fucking expert. Not an expert. So quit it. I'm just giving you my opinion. The average opinion of the average motherfucker. You know, well, maybe I'm not average. Maybe I'm a little strange. But that being said, I'm just sharing my opinion based on these things I've observed, things I've read, things I've been exposed to, and a lot of personal data, a lot of things I see with my own eyes and experience. And I've learned over the past couple of years in particular that in order to get a good grasp on what's happening, I need to do that because I cannot rely on that. Even with this supply chain crisis, while there are definitely things that are in short supply, I'm still able to get everything. Now, granted, the price is shooting up quite a bit. But I haven't gone into a store and had empty shelves. But then again, I'm not buying some of the things they're saying we're short on, like, you know, electronics, that kind of stuff. You know, I think I got enough electronics for now. I should make this shit last a couple of years. Maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 years. I don't know. You know, so make do with what I got. Yeah, I no longer need to upgrade. I'm going to stick with what I got for a long time. I'm sure there's some planned obsolescence in some of my tech. Like, I wonder when my phone's just going to brick just because they probably pre-program that shit to make it so you have to buy another phone. There's been evidence of that in the past, from Apple anyway. You know, we really got to consider these things, you know, and there's just so many... There's so much evidence of corporations. This is why I'm so anti-corporation at this point. There's just so many things. There was another documentary I watched that was showing the whole slave labor thing. If I can find it here, let me look. It was called, and I'll put this link in the description as well. It was called The Real Price of Your Cell Phone. And it went over all the components, and they went and investigated the labor practices. Particularly with Samsung phones, Nokia, and they found some astonishingly bad things. For example, the magnets that are in your phone are processed in a village in China that the pollution products for producing these magnets was so atrocious, and they dumped it into a lake. And that lake then polluted the water table, you know, the groundwater that the population of the town was living off of. And it was like a ghost town. And the majority of people dying from that, were of cancer. And it was ridiculously bad. They took the water from the well that they were getting their water from and went and did a lab analysis of it, and it was filled with lead and all kinds of other shit, which kind of reminds me of Michigan right now. You know, can't trust your tap water either. You want me to fucking put the jab in me? I can't drink out of the fucking tap in some places in this country? And nothing was done about it, even after the story. No, they got a well, we're looking into it letter. And they didn't even ask throughout that document. Watch this shit. If you can get through this without fucking looking with a skeptical eye at the fucking powers that be at this point, then good on you, because I don't trust any of them at this point. With anything. And I have a fucking phone right here. And by the end of that documentary, I'm like, how many motherfuckers died so that I could have this? Literally. In the process of getting the shit to make this. How many are dead? How many children were employed? That was the other thing they found. One of the other parts of it was made in a factory in China. And in that factory, they sent in an undercover motherfucker, you know, with the hidden camera and shit. 12, 13-year-olds. By themselves, working there. Why? Because their family was too poor to send them to fucking school. These are things these kids were saying with the hidden camera. Because they talked. You know? And when I add all of that up, that's where you get my very critical of large corporations attitude, in my 100% lack of trust in these large corporations. Does that mean all corporations are bad? No. But it does lead me as a person, for my own safety, to consider them all guilty until proven innocent. At this point. That's how much corruption has just, you know, there's foods that they're changing the labels on, that are illegally fished off the coast of Africa, and they're changing the labels to say it came from Korea, and they're selling them to people in France, which has some of the strictest fucking food regulations in the world, but they just changed the labels. So I'm like, oh, they can just change the fucking labels. And when you look at the conditions that this food was harvested in, it made you not want to eat it. I'll just put it that way. Well, they just changed the fucking labels. And then the people that are in charge of checking the labels were like, well, we don't know. How are we supposed to know? It says it came from fucking Korea. What do you want? Maybe an investigation. Maybe you stop the boats. Maybe you do your own independent investigation. I mean, you get this fucking, journalist doing it. The problem with a lot of these documentaries, though, is they're so hyper-focused and sometimes hyper-politicized. But that doesn't mean they aren't uncovering legitimate fucking skullduggery when it comes to the fucking corporations. It's definitely something to be concerned about. And that's where my stubbornness on the jab is rooted. And it didn't take long for me to figure out that they were fucking with us after a while. And it's not done. And it won't be done. Now, to be fair, in terms of my situation, because I know some people are trying to be helpful and trying to, you know, encourage me to do certain things. I'm in a wait and see posture right now. I'm going to try and take a road trip in November if I can afford it. If I can't, I can't. But I believe I could hop in any truck right now. No problem. I don't think they would ask me. I don't think they'd want to see my papers. I don't even think the DOT physical would want to know that. I don't even think that would be a checkbox on there. However, I don't want to do that and then a month later have them be like, well, you need to be jabbed, so go get your jab if you want to stay here. No, I'd rather just fucking wait and see what happens. Because I don't want to start working for these corporations. And make no mistake, when you're trucking, you're directly working for these corporations. I've hauled loads for Monsanto. I've hauled loads for Pfizer. I've hauled loads for Johnson & Johnson, P&G. I have hauled all of this shit. So, by proxy, I'm part of the problem. I don't want to be part of the fucking problem anymore. I've kind of got like this moral dilemma where I've got to balance my own survival and desires and way of life with not really contributing that much to these fucking problems. And it's a very difficult position to be in, you know, when you have to choose between your own survival and whether or not you're part of the fucking problem. And the other thing I don't want to happen is I see this spending bill coming down the pike and this inflation being out of control, you know, and before you tell me that there's no inflation, you know, so before you tell me that there's no inflation, this is Bitcoin for the last month. Bitcoin just doesn't go up 41% in 1 month. It just doesn't, you know. And thankfully, I got in on that. I know, I'm not wealthy, you know, because I didn't have enough invested. I wish I'd had. And that was part of my plan, by the way, was to hop in the truck and invest half of my pay into crypto. That was going to be my plan for eventually fully retiring. But that tells me right there, a bunch of motherfuckers are getting out of the dollar. And we've got MasterCard now saying, we're going to have Bitcoin wallets with our cards, which I already have. I use BitPay. And BitPay is essentially where you can transfer your crypto within minutes to your debit card as cash. Like, they do the trade for you. They take a little bit of money. Same thing, you know, they're not any different than a fiat card where they take the fees. You know. Sometimes insane fees, by the way. And yeah, so now MasterCard's getting in on that. And pretty soon you will see people be able to make purchases, maybe not directly yet. We haven't crossed that bridge where you're literally giving Bitcoin to a business in exchange for a good or service. Few businesses are toying with the idea, but nobody's outright said they're going to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, at least here in the United States. However, that's the next best thing, is when you can immediately transfer Bitcoin from your wallet and convert it to fiat via a trade that happens within 5 minutes of you doing it, so that you can walk into Walmart and buy your groceries or, you know, your toilet paper or whatever the latest emergency good is that you're going to need to stock up on. You know, it's coming, and it's only coming because all of these financial institutions are starting to go, oh shit, this isn't getting better. The money, it's not worth as much. You know, I mean, we're not to wheelbarrows to buy a loaf of bread yet, but it could happen. And maybe there's some people that are jumping out of the dollar right now. Specifically, I mean, it's gone up. It wasn't that long ago. It was 32,000. And it's now 63. It hit 63,000 last night. I was like, holy shit. I wish I'd have waited. Because I took profits pretty early. I was just like, oh, there's no way it's going to go up to 60,000. Missed that bus. You know, and now I'm kind of holding. You know, I could take more profit, but I don't want to pull any more out. Well, what if it goes up to 100,000? You know, not to mention it's not a capital gain if I leave it in there. Yet. Something else the Democrats are looking to fucking toy with. Only they're saying they're only going to do it to rich people. But I seem to recall they tried to fucking fuck with your account if it had $600 in it now. I'm just like, it sounds like everybody. So they might get their foot in the door with the rich people, but they'll come for you. Unrealized capital gains. They want to tax shit. They want to tax profit you haven't even fucking made yet. So what happens when you tax something that goes up? Like, say right now, Bitcoin's at 61,000. Say you made 46%, but you didn't cash in yet, so you technically haven't made it. And tomorrow it could drop to like 8,000, and you'd be fucked. But they want to tax you when you're at that peak. Supposedly only if you're rich. Doesn't sound fucked up to you? That sounds pretty fucked up to me. So what happens if I pay that tax, and then the next day it tanks? Then you made all that money, and I didn't make shit, and I lost all the fucking rest of my money. Yeah, sounds good. How's that 401k looking right now? Anyways, you know, it's... I just wanted to get on here and kind of vent my thoughts, because I did accumulate a lot of these thoughts as I watched these things, and I wanted to recommend these things is to maybe give you some perspective if you don't have it. A lot of you have this, you know, perspective already. You know, and some people are way more tinfoil hat than I am on some of this stuff. But I'm still sticking with the root, what I believe is the root of all this, and that's greed. It's really, you know, when you dig down to it, that is the motivation behind every corrupt fucking thing that's going on right now. It's all greed. It's all about the money and the power and the wealth. Not just money, but wealth in general. And they want you to own nothing and to come to them for things in exchange for your labor, of course. But hey, another documentary I watched, I don't remember that, it's pretty far in my watch history, was about AI and how 56% of the current jobs out there will be replaced by AI, including trucking, by the way. They're working hard on that one, trust me. You don't get this much fucking press about trucking shortage, because we've had trucking shortage a long time. But you don't see it like this, with the spotlight shining on it, without a company waiting to fucking in the wings to have the solution to this problem. It's all about problems and solutions, and a lot of these problems are pumped up and manufactured to cause you to be more accepting of what's to come. California, for example, has mandated that all trucks will be electric. Might have contributed to the trucking shortage in California, hence the bottleneck at the LA ports, which I personally had to fill in for. So no independent truckers and contractors will work out of California because of that stupid law that independent contractors have to have the same thing, benefits and whatever is, you know, employer situations. So that pretty much killed the independent contracting industry in California. So truckers aren't buying trucks in California. They're not operating in California. They're operating out of other states. And the only reason there's trucks really moving freight in California is because they're coming from other states to fill in the gaps left by their shitty fucking communist policy that they've put in place. So there's that. You know, I mean, most of the issues that weren't here a few years ago that are becoming so overwhelmingly bad can all easily be prevented by a shift in government policy. But you think Biden's going to do that? You think Congress is going to do that? And I'm not just talking about the Democrats on that. One of my criticisms of Republicans, because I've been liking a lot of what I hear DeSantis doing in Florida, but at the same time, I've been to Florida, and I know exactly what he's doing. He's saying about all this shit about Florida policy, but at the same time, he's left a lot of the hard decisions up to local governments and local municipalities. So there are some mandates in Florida on the local level. And he hasn't really intervened in those. But he talks a lot of shit for the whole state. And that's been the MO for multiple Republican governors. Kristi Noem of South Dakota. I'm a big fan. And I'm not a Republican. I'm just a fan of the lesser of two evils at this point. But at the same time, she did the same thing. She took very verbally said that South Dakota is going to stay open. We're not shutting shit down. We're just business as usual. But when you go to South Dakota during the pandemic, and I did several times, several cities and municipalities did, in fact, lock down. Not to the degree of New York, mind you, but definitely there were things that were closed. There were things that you couldn't go into. I got rejected from a Walmart in South Dakota from going in because I didn't have a mask on. I was very verbal when I left, but that was what happened. So that's where we're at. So I don't know how to get through to anybody. I feel like there's people that got the jab that are defensive about it. And they want to, I don't know, they think I'm being a dick to them because of this. And I'm like, look, if y'all just stop fucking with my life, this wouldn't be an issue. I'd have moved on by now. Oh, you got the jab? Well, that sucks for you. Glad I didn't do it. Whatever. If you just leave me the fuck alone, we could get back to normal. We're not going to get back to normal, are we? We're not allowed to have normal back. Because after this, after they successfully do this, if you guys allow it, whether you got the jab or not, if you allow this to happen, look forward to the next thing. And if they take COOF off the table, there'll be something else ready lined up. The next emergency, the next reason you should be afraid and do as you're told. For the public good. Mark my words. You let this through, it's just like I said with the mask. You let them do this, there's no stopping them. They're coming for all of your freedom. And it will divide the country. Pretty much already done at this point. Pretty sure we're divided. Unless they piss enough people off to unify them. There's always the possibility that Sleepy Joe pulls that feat off. I am really fucking, optimistic on that front, given the recent... I can't even say it now, but apparently you can be banned for this. But, the whole Brandon thing. Remember that? Yeah. Well, apparently you can now be censored for that. Whew. It's a brave new world. Still got to read that book, too. Thanks for recommending it to me. It keeps popping up in my feed. It's like the algorithm knows. The algorithm wants me to read that fucking audiobook. So, it's on my list of shit to do, probably on a road trip, though. Well, what the fuck do I know? I'm just telling you why I don't trust academia at this point. And science, or the media, or the government, or anybody. I don't trust fucking doctor when I go to the fucking hospital. That's how bad it is. I don't want to go in a hospital. That's me. I'm not saying that should be you. I don't trust them. And I won't. I will not put my life in their hands. I don't care how fucked up I am, by the way. If it's in my power to not go to the hospital, I ain't fucking going. That's where we're at. Doesn't make it right. I'd rather take my chances out here naturally with, you know, having my immune system protect me, having maybe my lifestyle and habits have a say, knowing about fasting, knowing about keto, knowing about these tools in my tool belt to manipulate my health going forward. But that being said, I don't even trust them fucking, like, if I went in with a broken leg, what are the chances I end up getting vented because I got the coof? You know? And you think that's fucked up? It's happened. It's documented. Happened. Read the Epicenter Nurse. You know, I mean, just... I don't know. I don't even know why I make these fucking videos, to be honest with you. I don't feel like I'm getting through to anybody, to be honest. I feel like anybody that watches my shit now already agrees with the shit. You know, with a few exceptions. There are some people that definitely don't agree with anything that I fucking say, but yet keep coming and watching and I don't, you know, I'm proud of you. You've endured a lot of shit talking over the years, and I thank you, you know, but at the same time, I can't understand it. You know, you're not open to anything I have to say. You're just like, it's like you come here just so you could tell me I'm a piece of shit sometimes, you know. And I have, you know, thankfully there's not a lot of them. But there are people that's exactly how they interact with me for multiple years now. Do they just come here to poke holes in anything I say or to tell me I'm wrong and all of that shit? I'll never understand the need to do that. You know, generally if I don't agree with somebody and I don't think they're open to my perspective, I move on. You know, but that's it. The fuck do I know? I am not an expert. I am just an asshole. This entire thing was just my opinion based on information I've received or things I've observed. In the end, do your own fucking homework and your own fucking math, because we all got our own math apparently. You know, and come up with your opinion in an informed way. And the only thing that I do ask is that you not let your opinion be given to you by mainstream media and social media. Wherever possible, try and take a sampling of real life and what you see with your own eyes. And do not regurgitate the opinions that nearly every news organization seems to want to plant in your fucking head. And they don't just do it there, they do it on social media too. And that was in that documentary as well. Just how much these companies utilize social media to fuck with your opinion and to manipulate you it's mind-blowing. And they even went so far as to attack motherfuckers like me. They showed a bunch of us on there. Thankfully, I wasn't on there. There was a certain doctor that I've watched from time to time that I don't agree with at all that got put up on there. And I was like, wow, he made it into this documentary. Well, good thing they didn't fucking stumble on my shit. You know, and it's all people doing this, you know, talking shit to the camera in the basement, essentially, you know, and they made us look like fucking nutcases, like we don't know shit, and we're the ignorant, according to that documentary. So go ahead, watch that shit and tell me in the comments what you thought. You know, did you take away from that shit? You know, and did you find the hypocrisy of they did these stories about why you shouldn't trust companies and pharmaceuticals, and then suddenly they led into the whole you should get jabbed shit? I thought that was very, I don't know, a very stark contrast in that documentary. But let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like my shit and you want me to make more shit, please like and subscribe and head to ScottTheTruckDriver.com, sign up for my free email list, and don't be afraid to leave a tip in the virtual tip jar, because I still don't know if I'm ever getting in a truck again. That parachute might be gone, or it might still be there. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I haven't ruled it out, but at the same time, I don't exactly feel safe and secure like I did before. I have an uncertain future right now, and that's what that's fucking with me. That's really what's got me all fucked up, is that I don't have that, what I thought was in my control, that parachute, you know, that As long as I maintained a clean CDL, as long as I was able to perform that job, that it would be there for me. That's no longer the case, and that's what's fucked with me the most. It's not that I'm not going to land on my feet. I've got skills, all right? I've got things I can fall back on. It's just going to be harder now. That's it. That's what I got to come to terms with. It's going to be more difficult to navigate in this new world. So, and I don't know. Maybe this will be my job. I don't know. I'm going to have to learn to live a lot more frugally if this is my job. But, that being said, I know what to do. I just got to fucking do it. Have a nice motherfucking day. And shit. And since I can't say the other thing, I'm just going to go ahead and say fuck Joe Biden. So, fuck Joe Biden. Fuck him. I'm fucking right. Just fuck him. All right? Fuck Joe Biden. I'm not even going to fucking do the meme thing. No. Because that's illegal now. I'm just going to say fuck Joe Biden. Fuck him. That simple. You know? And if you reelect that motherfucker,